Our Lady of Guadalupe. December 12th is the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Apparition occurred in 1531, 10 years after the seizure of Mexico City. The narration about the apparition of Our Lady to Juan Diego are contained in a document called Nicanmopohua, which means here is stated or here is told or Yudlama Zoltica, written in Hotel, the Aztec language. Nicanmopohua. It was written around the middle of the 16th century by an Indian scholar named Antonio Valeriano. The original work has not been found. A copy was first published in Nahuatl by Luis Lassa de la Vega in 1649. According to tradition, Mary appeared to Juan Diego, who was an Aztec convert to Christianity, on December 9 and again on December 12, 1531. During her first apparition, she requested that a shrine to her be built on the spot where she appeared, Tepeyac Hill, now in a suburb of Mexico City. The bishop demanded a sign before he would approve construction of a church. However, Mary then appeared a second time to Juan Diego and ordered him to collect roses. In a second audience with the bishop, Juan Diego opened his cloak, letting dozens of roses fall to the floor and revealing the image of Mary imprinted on the inside of the cloak. The image that is now venerated in the Basilica of Guadalupe. Miracles. Conversion of the Aztecs. By 1539, 8 million Aztecs have converted. Total eradication of human sacrifices. Countless stories of healing and ending of plagues and floods through the intercession of Our Lady. The miraculous preservation of the sacred image from destruction. The tilma. Made from maguey cactus, the tilma is supposed to last for 15 years only, but it is still in perfect condition after 481 years. Preserved from destruction when nitric acid was accidentally spilled in 1791. Survived bomb explosion on November 14, 1921. The image. The image of the Virgin with Jesus still in her womb. The ribbon symbolizes maternity for Spaniards, but virginity for the indigenous. No animal, plant, or chemical matches the paint. Image on the eye shows the people seen by Virgin when Juan Diego laid the tilma. The name Guadalupe. Guadalupe is an Arabic word meaning river of love. When the Virgin appeared to Juan Diego's uncle Juan Bernardino and asked her for her name, his uncle heard the word Quetzalcoatl, meaning the one who steps or crushes the serpent. With this, I conclude.
Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal. Mother Mary herself designed the Medal of the Immaculate Conception, now popularly known as the Miraculous Medal. No wonder that it was used for further extraordinary graces for those who wore it and asked for Mother Mary's intercession and help. The first apparition. The story begins on a night of July 18 or 19 of 1830, where a child-awakened sister, now Saint Catherine Lubery, a novice in the community of the Daughters of Charity in Paris, and summoned her to the chapel. There she met and spoke to our Virgin Mary, and Mother Mary during their conversion said that, "My child, I have a mission for you." The second apparition. Mother Mary gave her mission during a vision on evening meditation on November 27, 1830. Catherine Lubery saw Mary standing on a half globe and holding in her arms a golden globe. Mary thus explained that the golden globe represented the whole world, but especially France. The times were difficult in France, especially for the poor and for the unemployed, and often refugees in wars of time. France was the first to experience many of these troubles, which ultimately reached other borders of the world and are even still remaining today. Streaming from the rings of Mother Mary's fingers as she held the globe were rays of light. Mary explained that the ray symbolized the grace she obtained for those who asked for them. However, some of the gems on the rings were dark, and Mary explained that the rays and graces were available but did not come because no one had asked for it. The third apparition and the miraculous medal. The vision then changed to show Our Lady standing on a globe with her arms now outstretched and with the dazzling rays of light still streaming on her fingers. Framing the figure was an inscription, "O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for those who recourse to thee." The meaning of the front side of the miraculous medal. Mary is standing upon a globe, crushing the head of a serpent beneath a foot. She stands upon the globe, representing that she is the Queen of heaven and of earth. Her feet crush the serpent to proclaim that Satan and all his followers are helpless before her. The year of 1830 on the miraculous medal is the year of the Blessed Mother who gave the design of a miraculous medal to Saint Catherine Lubery. The reference to Mary conceived without sin supports the design of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, not to be confused with the virgin birth of Jesus, and referring that Mary's sinlessness, full of grace and blessed among women, that was proclaimed 24 years later in 1854. The meaning of the back side of the miraculous medal. The 12 stars refer to the apostles, who represent the entire church as it surrounds our Mother Mary. They also recall the vision of Saint John, who is the writer of the book of Revelation, with a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her foot, and her head crowned with 12 stars. The cross can symbolize Christ and our redemption, with the bar under the cross of a sign of the earth. The M stands for Mary and the interleaving of her initial and the cross, showing Mary's close involvement with Jesus and our world. In this, we see Mary's part in our salvation and her role as the mother of the church. The two hearts represent the love of Jesus and Mother Mary. When a Blessed Mother gave the design of the medal to Saint Catherine Lubery, she said, "Now it must be given to the whole world and to every person." The Association of the Miraculous Medal in Perville, Missouri carries out that Our Lady's request in many ways, including offering of a free miraculous medal. Thank you.
Our Lady of the Last Salton is a Marian apparition repeated by the two children, Max Brennan and Calvin, to have occurred the La Salle in France in 1846. On 19 September 1851, the local bishop formally approved the public devotional and prayer to Our Lady of La Salle. On 21st August 1879, Pope Leo XII granted a coronation to the image located with the Basilica of Our Lady of La Salle. A Russian style was granted to the image. Instead of a solar type was used to traditional of Our Lady during her prayers. There was many places to Our Lady of La Salle outside of France. The message is in way according to the children's account. People to respect the response of a seventh day and respect the name of God. The context of this places punishment places the warning just prior to the winter in 1846 and 1847 in Europe and families in France and Ireland a period of a fame in month. The people, those were the purpose of the Our Lady of La Salle. Pope John Paul II started Hazard Road on the occasion of the 150th anniversary of La Salle, the message of hope. For our hope is nourished by the intersection of her, whose mother is mankind. Thank you.
Our Lady of Lourdes is a Roman Catholic title of the Blessed Virgin Mary, venerated in honor of the Marian apparitions that are claimed to have occurred in the year 1858 in the vicinity of Lourdes in France. The first of these is the apparition of 11th February 1858, when a 14-year-old Bernadette told her mother that a lady spoke to her in the cave of Marsebelle while she was gathering firewood with her sister and a friend. Similar apparitions of the lady were reported on that year. In 18th January 1862, the local bishop of Tarbes, Bertrand Lawrence, endorsed the veneration of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Lourdes. On 3rd July 1876, Pope Pius IX officially granted a canonical coronation to the image that used to be in the courtyard of what is now a part of the Rosary Basilica. The image of Our Lady of Lourdes has been widely copied and reproduced in shrines and homes, often in garden landscapes. Bernadette was later canonized as a Catholic saint by Pope Pius XI in 1933.
Our Lady of Pontimain. Mary means star of the sea, for as mariners are guided to port by the ocean star, so Christians are also guided to the eternal heaven by Mother Mary through her maternal intercession. Our Lady of Pontimain is the title given to the Blessed Virgin Mary after her apparition at Pontimain, France in 17 January 1871. There is a Roman Catholic parish named after Our Lady of Pontimain in Lesotho in the southern part of the African country. a similar miracle in which peoples were saved from guns and bomb attack which had happened in 1983. The apparition is said to have occurred at the heights of the Franco-Prussian War. Pontomain, a hamlet of about 500 inhabitants, lay between the oncoming Prussian army and the city of Lavin. The Barbadette family consisted of the father Caesar, his wife Victoria, and their two sons, Joseph and Eugene, who aged 10 and 12, and their another older son who was in the army. On the evening of 17 January 1871, the two boys were helping their father at the barn. The elder one, the Eugene, walked towards the door to look out. As he gazed towards the star and studied at the sky, he suddenly saw an apparition of a beautiful woman smiling at him. She was wearing a blue gown covered with golden stars, a black veil with a golden crown. Father, brother and neighbor came out to look and Joseph immediately said he too was able to see the apparition, but the adults could not. The mother Victoria also came out to see it, but she too was able to see the apparition. The boys' parents could not see what their children were seeing that night during the apparition, so they called out for Sister Vitalin, the local school teacher. Sister Vitalin suggested that perhaps Our Lady was visible to only the children. Without any knowledge of the apparition, these two girls, Francois Richer and Jean Maria Lebus, were also able to see the Mother Mary during the apparition at the exact time with the exact color and with the exact form. A crowd gathered to pray as word quickly spread among the anxious villagers. Children saw the beautiful lady and gleefully pointed to her. Adults, however, saw only 3 stars forming into a triangle. As they prayed the rosary, the children next saw a banner unfurl beneath the lady. Slowly a message appeared. But pray, my children, God will hear you in time. My son allows himself to be touched. Upon hearing the message read aloud, the crowd spontaneously started singing the hymn Mother of Hope. Hearing this, Mother Mary smiled and laughed and joined singing it together with their children. The sudden stopping of the Prussian forces in sight of Laville and their retirement the following morning meant, together with the saving of the Britannia, the turning back of the tide of conquering soldier from the part of France. The war was practically at the end on 23rd January 1871. The longed hope of armistice was signed. But pray, my children, God will hear you in time. My son allows himself to be touched. With these beautiful words of Our Lady of Pontomain, let's fervently pray together towards Our Lady of Pontomain and also to our loving Jesus for their love, care, protection and guidance towards our life. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Miss Angel Rose Vincent would like to share some information on apparition of our Mother Mary, Our Lady of Now. This apparition took place on 1879, now a County Mayo at Ireland. Apparition. The evening of Thursday, 21 August 1879 was a very wet night. At about 8 o'clock, rain beat down in driving shades when Mary Bryan, a little girl of the village, accompanied the priest's housekeeper, Mary McLaughlin, whom stopped suddenly as she came in sight of the gable of the little church. There she saw standing a little out from the gable were 3 life-size figures. She ran home to tell her parents, and soon others from the village had gathered. The witness stated that they saw an apparition of Our Lady, Saint Joseph, and Saint John the Evangelist at the south gable end of the local small parish church, the Church of St. John the Baptist. Behind them and a little to the left of the St. John was a plain altar. On the altar there was a cross and a lamb with adoring angels. A farmer about half a mile away from the scene later described what he saw as a large globe of golden light above and around the gable, circular in appearance. For nearly 2 hours, a group that fluctuated between 2 and perhaps as many as 25 stood at night gazing at the figures as rain lashed them in the gathering darkness. Those who witnessed the apparition stood in the pouring rain for up to 2 hours, reciting the rosary. When the apparition began, there was good light, but although it then became very dark, witnesses could see the figures very clearly. They appeared to be the color of a bright whitish light. The apparitions did not flicker or move in any way. The witnesses reported that the ground around the figures remained completely dry during the apparition, although the wind was blowing from the south. Soon the entire apparition wall was torn apart by pilgrims chipping out the cement, mortar, and stones for souvenirs and to use for cures. The vision of Mary was described as being beautiful, standing a few feet above the ground. She wore a white cloak, hanging in full folds and fastened at the neck. She was described as deep in prayer with her eyes raised to heaven. With these words, I like to conclude. Thank you and have a nice day.
You are not alone, my child, and you must not be sad. I will be with you always, and my immaculate heart will be your comfort, and the way which will lead you to God. Our Lady of Fatima. The story begins in the village of Fatima, Portugal on May 13, 1917. On that fateful day, near that tiny village, the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God, appeared to 3 young peasant children, Francisco, Jacinta and Lucia, ages 10, 9 and 7. As was the custom, these youngsters were tending their family sheep when a lady all in white appeared to the youngsters. From May through October 1917, the lady appeared and spoke to the children on the 13th day of each month. Though the Virgin had been subjected to 3 days of torrential downpour, near 70,000 people journeyed through the heavy rain and mud to the place of the previous apparitions. To witness the predicted miracle, many were scornful unbelievers whose sole intent was to discredit the children's story. Suddenly the clouds separated and the sun appeared between them in the clear blue like a disk of white fire. The people could look at the sun without blinking, and while they gazed upward, the huge ball began to dance. Their story never changed. The heart of Our Lady's message to the world is contained in what has become known as the secret, which she confined to the children in July 1917. The secret actually consists of 3 parts. The first part of the secret was a frightening vision of hell, where the souls of poor sinners go and contain an urgent plea from Our Lady for acts of prayer and sacrifice to save souls, with particular emphasis on praying of the Rosary and devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mother Mary. The second part of the secret specifically prophesied the outbreak of the World War II and contained the prediction of the immense damage that Russia would do to the humanity by abandoning the Christian faith and embracing communist totalitarianism. The third part was not revealed until 2000. Its revelation coincided with the beatification of Francisco and Jacinta. It did not contain any striking or cataclysmic prediction, but instead the vision supported and affirmed the immense suffering endured by the witness of faith in the last century of the second millennium. Sister Lucia, the surviving member of the Fatima trio, confirmed that in the vision, the bishop clothed in white, who prays for all the faithful, is the Pope, as he makes his way with great difficulty towards the cross amid the corpses of those who were martyred, bishops, priests, men and women, religious and many lay people. He too falls to the ground, apparently dead, under a hail of gunfire. It is possible that the vision predicted the 1981 attack on Pope John Paul II's life. The Pope has always credited the Virgin for his survival, or it may be a portrayal of the Church's continued struggle against secularism and anti-Christian movements, and a continuing call to pray, sacrifice and devotion to Our Lady of Fatima. As St. Jose Maria said, love Our Lady and she will obtain abundant grace to help you conquer in your daily struggle. So let's give our prayer and love to our Mama Mary during this pandemic situation and overcome our daily challenges with her grace. Thank you.
Our Lady of the Poor, Belgium. The Apparitions. Marian Baker was just 12 and a half years old when she had Marian apparitions in 1933 in Banwix, Belgium, a hamlet of about 15 kilometers southeast of the city of Liege. In this case, the lady in white reportedly declared that she was the Virgin of the Poor and said, "Believe in me and I will believe in you." According to Merite, she first saw the Blessed Virgin Mary on the Sunday evening, January 16, 1933, as she was looking out of the kitchen window. A woman in white stood in the garden and asked her to come out, whereas her mother would not allow her. She is described as a young lady in the yard, smiling at her. The woman was bent forward and wearing a long white gown with a blue sash and a transparent white veil. 3 days later, the woman in white reappeared to Merite and told that she was the Lady of the Poor. The lady reappeared and totally it came to a count of about 8 times that the lady appeared to Merite, being the last on March 2, 1933. In one of these visions, Merite said that the lady asked her to push her hands into a small spring, telling her that the spring was for healing and for all nations. Over time, the site drew to pilgrims. Today, the small spring yields up about 2,000 gallons of water a day, with many reports of miraculous healings. Merite, meanwhile, became the object of local derision, with even her grandmother and aunt making fun of her. Boys followed her around, calling her Bernadette, kneeling and asking for her blessings. Her claims were subject to an official investigation from 1935 to 1937 by an episcopal commission. The evidence collected was submitted to Rome for further analysis. Meanwhile, a hospital was built in her name in 1938. In May 1942, Bishop Kerkers of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Liege approved that the veneration of Mary will be taken place under the title of Our Lady of the Poor, and approved that the apparitions themselves in 1949. Although the Holy See gave the bishop permission to approve the apparition, the Holy See itself did not approve it. Finally, the message of Our Lady of the Poor. The message of bearing rings loud today for the Belgian people in the midst of secularism and terrorism. Mary wanted people to pray often and always. Surely, in light of the recent attacks, there are reasons to pray for those who died, for those who were injured, for law enforcement and emergency personnel, for those who carried out the attacks, and for peace in the world. Speaking to Fernand, one of the children, Mary asked her, "Do you love my son? Do you love me? Well then, sacrifice yourself for me." A good challenge for us in our own prayer is to make sacrifices so that the will of God may reign in our world and then His peace may rule by fasting in all of us. We can sacrifice ourselves most especially by fasting. It is those times when we pray and make sacrifices that we see the fulfillment of the promise of Our Lady of Bearing declared by Gilbert Voisin. I will convert sinners. Thank you.
Our Lady of Bearing, also known as the Virgin of Golden Heart, is the title of 33 Marian apparitions reported by Bearing, Belgium between November 1932 and January 1933 by 5 children whose ages ranged between 9 and 15. For several years of the apparition, pilgrims flock into the small town of Bearing, Belgium. All cures were claimed, and she is celebrated under this title on 29 November. Young people who claim to have seen the apparitions were Fernand, Gilbert, and Albert, children of Hector and Mary Louise Perpet Voisin. Hector Voisin was a railway clerk. With them were Andre, Gilbert, Dejembre, daughters of Dejembre, and a farmer's widow. On the evening of 29 November 1932, 4 of the children went to a school conducted by the Sisters of Christian Doctrine to visit Gilbert Voisin. When they reached the school, Albert pointed out a lady with a long white robe near a railroad just past the school. Other children reported seeing the lady as well. Over several weeks later, they saw the lady 32 times more. Reported that the lady requested that a chapel be built at the site and stated that I am the Immaculate Virgin. She desired pilgrims to come at the site and ask children and everyone to pray, pray and pray. And in one of the last vision, revealed her golden heart. Final vision, the lady reportedly asked one of the children, Fernande, "Do you love my son?" She replied, "Yes." The lady then asked, "Do you love me?" Fernande again answered, "Yes." The lady then stated, "Then sacrifice yourself for me," and bade them farewell before the child could reply. Everyone, today I am going to speak a few words on Our Lady of Good Health. Introduction. Our Lady of Good Health, also known as Our Lady of Vedangarni, is a title given to Blessed Virgin Mary by people as she is said to have appeared twice in the town of Vedangarni in Tamil Nadu in India in the 16th to 17th century. History. The first apparition. The first apparition is said to have occurred to a young boy delivering buttermilk to a man who lived far away. During his travels, the boy stopped to rest beside a lake that was shaded by a banyan tree. A beautiful woman carrying a child is said to have appeared and asked the boy for some milk to feed her child, which he gave. When he reached the home for his milk delivery, he apologized for the delay and that there would be less milk in his pot. But when they opened the lid of the milk pot, the container was brimming with milk. The second apparition is alleged to have occurred a few years later.
A lame boy would sell buttermilk to passing travelers who would pause in the shade of a large banyan tree to escape the heat of the day. However, he had no customers. According to the account, suddenly an ethereal woman holding a child appeared before him and asked for a cup of buttermilk. He gave her a cup which she fed to her child. The woman asked the boy to go to Nagapattinam and find a certain Catholic man in the town and tell him to build a chapel at Velangani in her honor. Apparently good, the boy ran to Nagapattinam. When we found the man and told him his story. The Catholic man of Nagapattinam subsequently built a thatched chapel at Velangani, dedicated to Mother Mary under the title Our Lady of Good Health. Occurred in the 17th century. A Portuguese merchant vessel sailing from Macau to Ceylon was caught in a severe storm in the Bay of Bengal. The sailors prayed fervently for Mary, Star of the Sea, to save them and promised to build a church in her honor wherever they could land. The sea became calm and the ship landed near Velangani on 8 September, the feast of Nativity of Mary. To honor their promise, the Portuguese rebuilt that chapel into a stone church. The church was later renovated twice in the early 20th century. Although these elect apparitions have not been formally approved by the Holy See, they were implicitly approved by Pope John XXIII's 1962 elevation of the Velangani Church to minor basilica status. The Pope's apostolic brief noted that delegates in large numbers had been visiting the shrine for a long period of time and that it was hailed as Lutes of the East. Style basilica stands in Velangani in memory of the apparition. The basilica erected by the Portuguese and the Indians stand at the site where the buttermilk seller saw Mary and Jesus. The basilica is known as the site of pilgrims from all over India and its assembly of multilingual prayers every Christmas. 8th September, the feast of Nativity of Mary, is also commemorated as the feast of Our Lady of Good Health. The celebration starts on 29th August and ends on the day of the feast. The feast day prayers are said in Tamil, Marathi, East Indian, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, Konkani, Hindi and English.